In so many hundreds of years, in countless instances, victims of human rights violations had nowhere to go to seek justice. The pain of their sufferings could hardly be described. In the Tokyo Tribunal and Nuremberg trial, victims obtained some justice for the war crimes committed by Japanese and German forces during World War II. It was only 50 years after these ad hoc tribunals that the crimes committed against women forced into sex slavery were finally given attention.
Masakit.
It is painful to remember my experience when I was young.
But these courts failed to punish those who ordered and perpetrated these heinous crimes. Thus, time and again, we see the likes of Hitler, Mussolini, Hirohito in different places, in different times, even in times of peace.
This is why a movement emerged to prevent these crimes from happening again, to fight impunity.
On July 1998, the United Nations called for a meeting of nations in Rome to adopt a treaty creating the International Criminal Court, a landmark in the history of UN. 160 nations gave new shape and meaning to human rights and international humanitarian law. The Hague, Netherlands, became the base for the International Criminal Court. The Coalition for the International Criminal Court, or PC-ICC, a broad global network, played a key role in establishing the permanent court.
This is
a global network of more than 2,000 civil society groups which were part of the process right from the very start. It was formed in 1995. In Asia, the Philippine Coalition for the International Criminal Court is among the first to join the network. The first thing the Philippine Coalition did was to get President Estrada to sign the Instrument of Ratification.
Ng Instrument of Ratification ng Rome Statute.
Most of our members are human rights organizations and advocates, including academe, lawyers, law students.
One of the largest sectors of civil society, the women, actively took part in the campaign for international justice.
I was selected to be co-director of the Women's Caucus for Gender Justice, which is an international women's lobby for integrating gender perspectives into the negotiations around the International Criminal Court statutes.
This permanent court can prosecute individuals accused of the most serious crimes of international concern. It has jurisdiction over 3 types of crimes: war crimes, genocide, and crimes against humanity.
War crimes are grave breaches of the Geneva Conventions, the so-called international humanitarian law which gives protection to civilians, wounded soldiers, and soldiers who have surrendered. The conventions also protect hospitals, churches, mosques.
Kaya yung mga
hostage-taking, rape, murder of civilians are considered war crimes when committed as part of a policy in times of war. Crimes against humanity are acts such as killing, rape, torture, enforced disappearance, enslavement, committed as part of a widespread or systematic attack directed against a civilian population. Genocide is the wiping out of a race through the systematic killing of the members of the community.
The ICC will complement national institutions of justice.
The ICC is complementary to national criminal jurisdictions. The ICC will only step in if states do not fulfill their obligations. This is the reason why the ICC has been described as an emergency court or the court of last resort.
Only crimes committed after the establishment of the court in 2002 are within the jurisdiction of the court.
I have proclaimed martial law in accordance with the powers vested in the President.
If we had this court when we had martial law, then those crimes against humanity, those summary executions, bombings, food blockade, which were committed during martial law, then the victims could have had a venue for justice.
Sana yung isang venue for justice.
We cried out loudly to be heard by people. We were tortured for a week, 24 hours a day.
24 hours kami tortured doon.
Although more than half of the world has ratified the treaty, universal ratification is being sought to make it truly effective.
So that these crimes will no longer be committed again, anywhere.
Saan man lugar ng mundo.
Unfortunately, however, only 12 states from Asia and the Pacific region have joined the Rome Statute so far.
Most alarming is the reason behind this. A campaign against the ICC was launched by the strongest nation in the world, the United States of America.
Our two nations have made our choice.
The United States withdrew its signature to the treaty in May 2002. Then it passed a law which cuts military, economic, and other forms of aid to countries which ratify the Rome Statute. More than half signed a bilateral immunity agreement with the United States, which is a violation of a provision of the Rome Statute. The immunity agreement exempts U.S. nationals from prosecution by the ICC.
Ine-exempt nito yung US nationals from any prosecution of the ICC.
In the beginning, the Philippines actively participated in the creation of the Rome Statute of the International Criminal Court.
It was not very difficult for us to come to an agreement. And so finally, we passed a resolution endorsing the ratification of the treaty.
We were part of the drafting committee of the Rome Statute. Our representatives were University of the Philippines Dean Raul Pangalangan, Dr. Merlin Magallona, and Ambassador Lauro Baha.
My hope was to produce a statute and create an institution, a court, that will effectively protect human dignity, even in conditions of armed conflict, and especially in conditions of internal strife. Without inquiring into their politics, without inquiring into their ideology, and fight for their dignity simply for the fact that they are human.
Finally, I think we all know that President Estrada signed it.
At nang umupo si
When President Arroyo assumed presidency through People Power II, everyone thought she would be the first to ratify the Rome Statute, being a beneficiary of People Power.
It has been 5 years, and yet it has not moved under this present administration of Gloria Arroyo.
We learned that it did not go to the Senate, that the signed document was somewhere and nobody even knew where it was.
Everyone thought this was only due to red tape. In 2002, presidential spokesperson Bunye broke Malacanang's silence and admitted that inaction was not due to red tape. A meeting of the Cabinet Cluster Committee, composed of Secretary Reyes of National Defense, Foreign Affairs Secretary Blas Ople, Executive Secretary Romulo, decided not to transmit the Rome Statute to the Senate because America was enacting the American Servicemen's Protection Act. And at that time, the Philippines was promised $30 million in military assistance from the U.S.
When a lasting peace is established, the United States is prepared to provide development assistance.
Struggle to put an end to impunity should not be made dependent on the receipt of military aid.
The first country to topple a dictatorship practicing in 1998 was still failed to ratify the Rome Statute. It is assured.
Since 2002, numerous cases of human rights violations in our country have been documented.
Since 2002, or upon the assumption to office of Gloria Arroyo, cases of human rights violations have been escalating, especially political killings or extrajudicial killings of political activists, journalists, lawyers, church workers. Look at the record of Army Colonel Palparan. He leaves behind a trail of deaths or murders anywhere he is assigned. But he keeps getting promoted, which encourages a culture of impunity. Whoever is critical of government earns the ire of government. They kill our people, violate our laws, and yet they go unpunished.
For as long as there's no justice, there will be no peace. The ratification of the Rome Statute is one path towards justice.
This is a guarantee for our people.
Isa siyang court of last resort.
Up to today, government refuses to admit that we have political prisoners. If we ratify this, then we have a venue to bring their cases.
Kung saan dadalhin itong mga kasong ito.
Ang Pilipinas din ang nagsabi ng kauna-unahang beses sa buong mundo.
Our country was the first to tell the whole world that you will be held accountable for crimes perpetrated if you were a military commander and were found to have done nothing to stop or punish perpetrators of crimes, even though you did not directly commit any act of violence. The ICC, in fact, was born out of the Philippine experience, and largely because of our contribution to the field of international criminal law.
If only governments in Asia would see that this new institution would be of great help in upgrading their own laws.
Really acknowledged to be the next step in the development of international law and of the global community, that individual countries will subject themselves to international scrutiny.
We can already begin informing communities, and women in particular, about these different crimes which are already recognized internationally.
Working for justice is not the responsibility of one lawyer or one organization alone. It should be a collaboration that would involve the victims themselves.
Naakit natin yung mga mamamayang Pilipino na muling.
We are enjoining the people to once again write letters to President Arroyo, urging her to transmit the Rome Statute to the Senate.
And I like to quote some statement from President Mandela, because what he said about this office in South Africa is also our goal in the International Criminal Court. President Mandela said, "The challenge for the modern prosecutor is to become a lawyer for the people. It is your duty to build an effective relationship with the community and to ensure that the rights of the victims are protected. It is your duty to prosecute fairly and effectively according with the rule of law, and to act in a principled way without fear, favor, or prejudice. It is your duty to build a prosecution service that is an effective deterrent to crime and is known to demonstrate great compassion and sensitivity to the people it serves. This is our goal."